Good morning and welcome to the Stokastic.com NFL Sim Strategy Show right here on the Stokastic YouTube channel. I'm not actually as beat up as I sound, but I am a little bit disappointed. Quick round of applause for Philly sports yesterday. It was, Greg, the first time in 40 years that they have completed the trifecta with 3 losses for 3 Philly teams in a single day. Flyers in their opener lost, which is whatever. The Eagles got their dick stomped by the New York Giants, who were literally elevating practice squad players to play. And I know you guys are waiting for this, so I'm giving you what you wanted, okay? You get it. And then Orion Kerkering with a historical blunder and a still shot of JT Realmuto pointing to first base that will be seared into my mind, haunting me for years to come, because this bozo, who I actually kind of felt bad for, my father-in-law, who was here on the other hand, he's out. Get rid of him. Never see the field again. What a disastrous day, man. And as my father-in-law, maybe not in the right state of mind, but astutely pointed out, Greg, it wasn't that the Phillies lost. If they lost on a clean base hit to center field, fine. A home run to clear the game, a walk-off grand slam. But the way in which they lost, I mean, the only 2 runs they allowed, and I know it's a football show, but give me my second. A walk by Duran with bases loaded. I hate bringing closers in the 7th inning. These guys are mental cases, and that's not an insult, but they are, right? It's a mental game. These guys coming in the 7th inning is not a good thing. And then pulling Luzardo, who looks good, only to lose the game on an error thrown to the wrong pace, thrown to home plate by Ryan Kerkering, and then the Eagles get stomped after that. So, yeah, good night, Greg. Fun stuff. I ended up going to bed watching this odd, 20-minute video of Devin Loughran. I think he's like a professional arm wrestler.
Yeah. I've seen Devin Loughran videos. Also, one other thing, too, is there's going to be a lot of there's been this bias against the Eagles since the season started. And last night was a very, very no good, terrible loss for them. But with that said, they are 4-2. They won the Super Bowl last year. This is still a very good football team, even if everybody just wants to say the Eagles suck. The reality is, I think it's twofold. Number one, we see weird things happen on short weeks all the time, Thursday Night Football. Look at what happened last week. The 49ers played the Rams. Everybody was out for the 49ers, and I think the same spread. I think it was 7.5 points in both of those games.
It was.
Similar sort of circumstance. These divisional games on short weeks, weird things happen to them all the time. So I'm actually kind of curious to see what ends up happening with some of the Eagles' futures odds as the week goes on, because the narrative around them is so poor. I kind of want to buy low on the Eagles right now because the actual team, they're 4-2. They won the Super Bowl last year. This is not a terrible team all of a sudden. I don't know that there's a single team in the NFC I would favor in a game against them on a neutral field right now. And that's just not how they're going to be viewed at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, I'd favor pretty much anybody against them right now. I'm not, dude, I know that sounds insane. I opened up with a long monologue in my betting video yesterday. This is reminiscent of the 2023 Eagles coming off of that Super Bowl loss. But here's the thing, Greg. I'm with you, and this is why I ended up betting the Eagles early in the day when I thought Jalen Carter was going to play, and they did lose Quinyon Mitchell, but there's no excuses. The problem is right now, it's that even with all of the quality players they have on both sides of the field, the team is in disarray. They are broken right now. You know, the games they're winning are by the skin of their teeth that they shouldn't win, against the Rams, even against the Bucks, against a neutered Kansas City team. They didn't just lose last night. Now I sound like a ChatGPT prompt. They didn't just lose. They got cremated. But it's true. Like, they got crushed by a rookie quarterback in his 4th career start against practice squad receivers. The problem is their play calling is vanilla. Lane Johnson said the defenses know what's coming. So I'm with you in that they're still a good team on paper. If you do not figure out how to change this offense, they're actually not a good or even a functioning team. There is a big difference there. I would be cautious on how you proceed with the Eagles right now, because with all of these good players, if you can't figure out how to actually orchestrate an offense, it doesn't matter how good they are if you can't find ways to create separation for A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith. It's a problem, dude.
I think this requires another bet between us. So
you don't want to do that, man. You don't want to. I'm telling you, you're going to regret it. Don't do it.
Next week,
okay,
the Eagles are on the road against the Vikings. On the road, though. On the road. I have no clue. I don't even know if there's a spread up for that game yet. I'll check.
There's got to be. No, there won't be, because the Vikings haven't played yet, and the Eagles have.
If you truly would not favor the Eagles against just about anybody on a neutral field, I just say we go straight up. I'll take the Eagles next week. Your Eagles, you get an emotional hedge. You get the Viking side of the game, and I get a chance to potentially get on the board. I have lost 2 SPY bets to you, but I could get one back here if the Eagles can win next week in Minnesota.
Okay. Yeah, actually, this is fair. Fine. Eagles are 1.5 point favorites. And actually, no, are the Vikings on a bye this week? So it wouldn't even matter.
Yes, they are on a bye.
So there you go. So we're good. Okay. All right. Just straight up.
Straight up.
You know, I'm going to take this bet because this is fair, but you're backing me into a corner, and I'll tell you why. You are making me bet on Carson Wentz. Like, that's nuts, man. This guy who I watched torment Philly following his ACL injury, you're going to make me bet on Carson Wentz against the Eagles. I'll take it, though. I think if they don't fix things soon, this team's going to be in real trouble, and they have looked very much like a paper tiger through the first handful of weeks. So virtual handshake on that one, man. We will go another one. Straight up, I'll take the Vikings. God, I hate doing this, but I like money more than I like the Eagles. So
there we go.
Let's
there we go. And yeah, so I also we have one in play for this week. I owe you a SPY entry. So if you guys go to Loughy's Tails page, go to tails.bet, download the Tails app. I believe it's pinned to your profile right now. We have a lineup that we are going to be playing in the SPY this weekend. If that lineup comes in first place, one person who likes that post over on Tails is going to be getting $1,000 from Loughy and I. You have nothing to lose and only some money to gain. So head on over to Tails, like that post, and check out the lineup that we built too.
I'll do you one better. I actually mixed it up a little bit this week because, trying to be a man of the people, Greg, and I would honestly love for this to happen because it would be good for me. It would be good for everybody. I decided, I hit 5K. Nice. Thank you, guys. I decided, Greg, that what I was going to do, and let me throw this up on the screen for you guys, then we'll get straight into this show. But I please forgive me. This needed to be done. Here we go. Where's my pin? Either way, I made it top 3. How about that? I made it if we finish top 3.
All right. Yeah. So just find once Loughy finds the post and repins it to his profile. Just like that. Oh, there it is.
There we go. Top 3. And it's a sweet lineup. I reserve the right to change it. I might not, though. I really like that lineup, which is a perfect opportunity for us to start building lineups today. What do you say, man? Or not building.
One more thing. Also, want to tell people I'm waiting for one more projections update. But after it comes, I'm going to post my top 5 sim ROI lineups for FanDuel and DraftKings, and I'll pin that to my profile over on Tails. One person who likes that is going to win a free weekly Stokastic sub. So one other giveaway that you guys could find over on Tails sometime this afternoon. I'm going to post my top 5 sim ROI lineups for FanDuel and DraftKings. Like that post, one person's going to win a free sub.
Awesome. Adrian said they won the Super Bowl last year. I'm sure Loughy's doing okay. It is true. Like I said before the season started to some of my buddies, I was like, if it's a rough season, I can hang my hat on the fact that like we're coming off a Super Bowl. You can't always expect to win. I don't expect to win the Super Bowl this year. It is what it is. I'm not. I mean, like I would have liked to have won. It was an embarrassing loss, but I'm not. I woke up today feeling okay. My daughter, my 4-year-old, has a peanut allergy, Greg, and you're someone that could speak to allergies or intolerances and stuff. Like taking a 4-year-old, you take your 4-year-old daughter, and to get blood work at like 7:30 in the morning, not fun. Kind of sad.
No,
She did
I
well though.
I could imagine. I also I could relate to that. Something I just did. I've got a doctor's appointment this afternoon, so I can empathize with that.
Yeah, man. She did well though, and I was proud of her. But she has to sit on my lap, and I have to hold like her arm down so she doesn't move it, and she's scared. It sucks, but she's good, man. And I try not to baby her with it either, but she's good. I say, get your ass in there and stick that needle in your arm. No, she's good, man. She's good. She did great. All right, you ready to do it? Take a look at some. Oh, and by the way, what's the projection update? Because I think Rich, I think we're good. I was actually looking at this because I did the perfect lineup today. I already did it this morning. It's going to be out early today for any of you guys who want to check it out. We have a ton of fun with that each week. I looked at the projections. I know Rich is updating them for us for this show, but I think they look pretty good right now. Sure, we'll see some changes, but they don't look bad at all. They look pretty refined.
So the one thing that is going to have to change, and this is news that just came out, Chris Godwin is not going to play this weekend.
Oh my God.
And, yeah, so that just came out. We found that out 10 minutes ago. So like just as the show started, it came out that Chris Godwin isn't playing this weekend.
Woo. So just all right. Let me hit up Rich too. That should not be a hard. That should be a very quick fix, by the way.
Egbuka is 7,200, by the way. So at least Egbuka has been priced up just because he's played so well so far this year. And I think pretty clear him and Jackson Dart are the front runners for Rookie of the Year at this point. But Egbuka, at least he's not like 4,800 or what was he, 5,100 to start the year, something like that. So he's priced as an elite wide receiver now.
Yeah, and he is an elite wide receiver. I mean, he is.
Yeah.
There's just no denying it. You can tell if you can truly tell a guy when you watch them play early on, like, is he just getting lucky, and making some plays based on volume, or is this guy really, really good? Yeah, Emeka Egbuka is that good. Just he's amazing. And I think you're now talking about a scenario where with Mike Evans not playing, Chris Godwin not playing, good call on that because I didn't see that news. Egbuka is absolutely going to be one of the more popular and already projected well, but it's hard to get away from that one, man. It's not the greatest matchup against San Francisco, but Baker Mayfield is so good to the point where it doesn't really matter. And he went up and carved up a pretty good Seattle defense last week as well in Seattle. So
he's elite now. Baker's elite. If you look at the current MVP odds, we've got Josh Allen 1, Pat Mahomes 3, Baker Mayfield's 3rd in the MVP betting odds right now.
Yes, I know. Dude, on FanDuel, he's like plus. Were you looking at FanDuel or DraftKings?
FanDuel, I think he was 7-1.
Which is nuts because he was 9-1 2 days ago. It makes sense. They're winning all these games late, which like for us as DFS players or even for bettors doesn't matter. But if you're voting on MVP stuff and you're like, this guy led 10 game-winning drives this year in the final few minutes, that clearly makes a difference. So, yeah, I'm on board. If we do get an update, we'll make some changes. The good thing here is that we talked about it now, and we already know that Egbuka makes for a good play this week, right? And I don't think there's necessarily anything we have to worry about. You guys know it. We know it. So when I look, Greg, and just go to receivers for a second, when I look at like the best receivers on this slate, talking, chalky, highly projected receivers, or even just chalky receivers like a Chris Olave, I posted our ownership and like all of the highest owned guys and what a lineup would look like the other day. And there were so many people like, how can you put Olave in there? Dude, it's based on ownership. Well, why would he be popular? And he'd be popular because for the first time all season, you can't just play everybody you want. This is the first slate this year where you actually have to make some real decisions. Now, Godwin being out, does it open some things up? Like, do we consider Sterling Shepard? Sure, but he's still Sterling Shepard. Rashad White's price is up. Rico Dowdle is still cheap, but he's not $4,300. You're going to have to make some decisions. So yeah, a guy in Olave with a $5,100 price point and a 31% target share. It doesn't really matter who he's facing on a slate like this. He's going to have ownership because he's just cheap and he has a 30+% target share. I understand he hasn't been great, Greg. He hasn't had a big game, but if you're telling me, all right, do you want the $5,100 guy who's overpriced with a 14% target share, or just take Olave with a monster workload? It's just natural that you're going to get to a guy like that. You don't have to, but it makes sense that he's popular.
Yeah, and like you said, it's just volume. He's 54 targets through 5 games this year. He's averaging right around 11 targets per game. He's had double-digit targets in all but 1 game. And the other thing, too, this Saints team is so terrible. They're almost always in pass-friendly game scripts. The only win, actually, not only the only win, but I think, they also had the 49ers game. They lost by less than a touchdown. So they beat the Giants last week. Every other game, though, they've lost by a touchdown or more outside of the game against the Giants where they won in the game against the 49ers. These other games, they're losing by like 7 to 20 points, and they're just constantly having to throw the football. And Spencer Rattler is clearly keyed on Chris Olave. 11 targets against the Giants, 14 targets against the Seahawks, 10 targets against the 49ers, 13 targets against the Cardinals. He gets a lot of looks. And even though, to your point, he's been incredibly terrible from an efficiency standpoint, he still has these games where it's like 10 catches for 57 yards. At his price point and on a slate where lacking in value, he's one of the better value options just because we don't have somebody who's like a Rico Dowdle at 4,300.
Exactly. And look, man, I understand the cap or the salary floor on running backs is $1,000 higher than it is on wide receivers, $1,500 than it is on tight ends. But also the reason for that is if 2 wide receivers are ruled out for a team and now you're playing the 3K receiver, he's usually 3K because he's not very good and it's still not guaranteed to get a big workload, right? Like, you still have to create separation and all of that stuff. You still have to understand how to run routes, to catch a ball. You still have to get targeted, whereas you could just spread the ball out if you're, say, a Baker Mayfield, if he was without a Ibuka too. However, at running back, $4,300 Dowdle with no Chuba Hubbard, it's like, oh, wait, first of all, the guy's not bad at all. And he's a bell cow back now. So, of course, they're going to be more expensive. A $4,300, I would even argue a $5,000 running back taking over for an injured starter when there's no timeshare now with the backup is more valuable than almost any 3K wide receiver who gets work because of injuries in the passing game.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And there's a couple of other guys who are kind of in that same vein right now as well, in a similar price point, where you've got Jalen Waddle in what should be a good passing game script against the Chargers. He's somebody who is likely going to be seeing extra targets in the absence of Tyreek Hill. So you got Jalen Waddle also, who has not been uber efficient this year, but he is coming off a game last week without Tyreek Hill where he was targeted 9 times. He caught 6 of them for 110 yards. So that was actually a fairly efficient game. But overall for the season, he's not been very efficient. But if we're now going to be getting 8, 9, 10, 11 targets per game from Jalen Waddle, he's going to look really good at $6,100. Another one, Ted McMillan at 6K against the Dallas Cowboys. I know their pass defense last week was sort of their first good defensive game, but at the same time, too, all the Jets chalk got there just because of garbage time. But outside of that, the Cowboys just gotten killed in the air throughout the season. And Ted McMillan is another guy who has not been very efficient this year. Bryce Young has been wildly inconsistent, but McMillan is drawing a lot of volume. His targets so far this year, 9, 10, 8, 8, 8 targets through the first 5 games of the season. Hasn't been efficient, but if he's going to continue to get 8 to 10 targets per game and he's going up against a bad pass defense like the Dallas Cowboys, I think in a lot of ways, these 3 guys who are all showing up in the Sims in the mid-range are kind of similar.
Yeah, I could not agree more. And Dallas is terrible in coverage. I bet the Panthers at plus 3.5. Not saying it's a win, but I think it's the right bet. It's looking like that's moving to 3 in a lot of spots. They're like minus 120, minus 125 on 3.5 in some books. So, I don't like the Panthers as a team, but there are weeks. I actually, I'll give you a little bit of a teaser here. May have had a Bryce Young lineup in this perfect lineup video that Josh and I do every Friday. And the whole rationale behind this, dude, is just, okay, people get way too caught up in like, I could never play that stack. This guy stinks. Say, yeah, but also on a slate where pricing is tighter, you don't need 30 from Bryce Young at 48 or 4,700, right? Like you still have to make decisions and make sacrifices in some spots. So if that means that I could skinny stack Bryce Young and Teteroa McMillan, and I can do that at a total cost of like, what, 10,800, you could still get an 18 spot from Bryce if McMillan has a good game, and you're able to jam in like Nakua, Josh Jacobs, probably Ibuka as well. You can jam all of these players in. You can run it back with Javonte Williams, with Miles Sanders looking like he's going to be out again. I'm not sure that matters, but it just helps him with an even clearer path. These are the type of weeks where I would actually advocate taking some shots on some of these cheaper quarterbacks and cheaper stacks, because as we've seen many times in the past, that cheap stack doesn't need to go insane. It just needs to be decent.
Yeah, and there are some cheaper stacks that you're seeing show up here, kind of going back and forth between the quarterbacks and the wide receivers. But Bryce Young, we're getting him in lineups with Ted McMillan. There's no quarterback who's showing up in a ton of lineups in the same way that Justin Fields did last week. But Bryce Young at $4,800, Sam Darnold at $5,400, Trevor Lawrence at $5,100. So the Sim's actually really liking both sides of the Seattle-Jacksonville game. So then JSN showing up in 20% of lineups. Brian Thomas, who looked marginally better last week. I think he's a decent buy low option at just $6,200 for this slate. Different from these guys, this isn't volume oriented. This is just upside oriented in terms of me believing in his ceiling and him being priced all the way down at $6,200. And then kind of a surprising one until you think about the price point a little bit more. But at first I was like, wow, why is Cooper Kupp showing up in a lot of lineups? But Cooper Kupp's only $4,600 now.
Yeah, dude. Cooper Kupp's down very cheap. Do I love it? No. Maybe it means we're going to have Sam Darnold doubles like that. A lot of times when I see that, that's kind of what I think. A perfect example of what we're talking about, though, is some of these cheap quarterbacks. Do you guys remember Desmond Ridder 2 years ago? He was starting for the Falcons against Washington. Matter of fact, that was my big stand on this show. I didn't win the Millie, but Desmond Ridder with Kyle Pitts and Drake London won the Millie. And I remember looking back at this, like, Ridder threw 3 interceptions in that game. He threw 2 touchdowns for 300 yards, 3 interceptions. And then Pitts had Greg, it was like 16 or something. Drake London, they were all super cheap because the offense stunk. Drake London had, I don't know, like 20, I think. And that won the Millie. So you got like 19 from Ridder, 20 from London, and 16 or 17 from Pitts. And that won the Millie because of what it allowed you to get to elsewhere. Those are the type. Jake DeWitt, the Ridder week was my best week of the year. So you'd remember, Jake, it wasn't that stack combined for 100 points. No, I think it combined for 60, but you didn't need anything crazy. So yeah, for everything you're talking about here, when you're going through these exposures, it just reminds me of these type of games where you go, hey, this can absolutely happen. So I think we should take a look at our stack exposures here. And while you toggle over to that, Todd asked, do you not get a free month of Sims when signing up for Onyx? Yeah, Todd, as long as you follow the instructions that we have with that link down below, you click claim offer, you make the deposit, right? That's all you have to do. You click claim offer, make that deposit. After you make the deposit, place a bet or set a lineup, if it's a DFS pick'em site. And then after that settles, you simply send your screenshots of your welcome email and your first settle bet to us, not to the books. They don't care. At support@stokastic.com, tell us what you want. Every single one of these equals a free month of the Sims. If you sign up for 4 of them, you could go, give me 2 months of NFL, give me 2 months of NBA. Ron over there that handles all of the emails and does a great job with that. He will take care of it for you and get you set up. That's all you have to do. And I should shout out Ralph, who tweeted us the other day, Greg. I know you thought this was cool. I thought it was very cool. He said, this crazy as AF. Got the Sims core for free after signing up for BetMGM. Submitted the first 4 and boom. I never would have built this lineup myself. Thank you, Stokastic. $400 for a low stakes player. His first time using it. I can't stress enough how valuable this is to low stakes players, right? Like to low stakes players, instead of having to pay the full cost for the Sims, you can come in and with a $5 or $10 deposit, get a full month or more and free roll many months of them without doing anything.
Also, I mean, you just look at the lineup that's on screen. It's pretty sensible. It's a Justin Fields lineup, and then it was George Pickens and Javonte Williams on the other side of the game, and then just the other value options that generally showed up in the data, like Rico Dowdle, Tyler Warren, who was a little bit too cheap at tight end, JSN, who was showing up a lot as a pay-up wide receiver. So, the lineup in there, pretty sensible as well. It does look like it was a naked Justin Fields lineup, but if you're going to play a quarterback naked, it's probably going to be somebody with the rushing upside of Justin Fields. So, go check it out. It's a great deal because on top of it, you're also getting the bonus offer, the welcome offer you're getting from Onyx or whatever other place you sign up for. So, you're getting free Sims, you're getting free money from books as well. It's the best deal that we have here.
Yeah, man. 21 years old to gamble. Gambling problem. Caller takes 100 gambler, but that's how it's done. Simplest way. Or you can just use the link down below, another one to check out like how much a week or a month costs on its own. All right. Stack exposure. A lot of Lawrence, but I think it goes to what you were saying. Good spot on Brian Thomas, but also the big thing here, Hunter Long's $2,500, Greg, with Brenton Strange on the IR. We haven't projected for like 7, which at 2,500 is nice. Pricing is tighter this week. He comes along with the double stack for Lawrence as slight favorites at home and what could be a higher scoring game. It makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, and it's while we're getting to more of Lawrence than anybody else, it is still sub 20% of him. And then it's also different kinds of stacks. We've got 9% single stacks, 8% double stacks, 2% triple stacks. We're hardly getting to any triple stacks this week. It's largely single and double stacks, and definitely more of a focus on the cheaper quarterbacks as well.
Look at the Bryce Young. Who are we doubling Bryce Young with? Can we go figure this out?
Yeah. So if we go and look at the Panthers players, let's see. McMillan is definitely one of them.
It might just be Dowdle and McMillan.
Dowdle as well.
Oh, and Tremble. We have 9% Tremble too.
Yeah, so Tremble as a punt, also very low owned, only 1% owned. He's showing up in some lineups. It's mostly Bryce Young, likely with Dowdle and McMillan, and some of Tremble as well.
I will say this much, though. I think we're going to, once we update the Sims here, I think Tremble will not, I don't think he's going to be anywhere close to the 9% we're getting because Jatavian Sanders with that high ankle is off the injury report and he will play this week. If you're telling me Jatavian Sanders is back, I'm good on Tommy Tremble.
What is the price point on Sanders?
Sanders is 32.
So here's the other thing that can end up happening because so on our last run we had Sanders out. He's going to get added back into our projections. He's only $3,200. He could show up in some lineups. Probably not as many as what Tremble is in right now because he's $600 more expensive. But I wouldn't be surprised if we had like 5% of Jatavian Sanders.
No, that's not crazy. I could see that being the case. But I do like the idea of getting to some Bryce Young stacks. Now, I'm just going to throw this out there. I personally like the singles better or the doubles with Dowdle. But here's another way you could do it. You could just go Dowdle McMillan with no Bryce Young. And I think that's a very interesting build this week. You know, Bryce Young clearly gets you that salary relief, but going Dowdle and McMillan is not a crazy idea, fading Bryce Young in that, and then having like a Javonte Williams run back. I actually like it.
Yep. I don't have any issue with that either. And by the way, Chuba Hubbard has not officially been ruled out, but he didn't practice yesterday. So as of right now, that seems like the way it's trending. Obviously, if Hubbard plays, completely changes the scenario with Rico Dowdle. But right now, I think it's pretty reasonable that we have Hubbard not playing. That's what I think is the most likely scenario.
Oh, me too, for sure. And he lost his starting job. If Dowdle has another good game, this is full out committee approach. Chris, how many players do you guys handpick before you let the sims do the rest? You're referring to the single lineup sims. It depends for me. Sometimes I'll just go like with a really basic build, 2 or 3, fill it out. Sometimes I'll put 4 or 5 in. Sometimes Greg and I, when we do the show, we'll put like all but 2 in. And sometimes I'll run it on 0 randomness, other times at 10. What I want to do is mess around with it and see what I get, sim it out, and keep running through multiple iterations of it. Greg, one thing I think is helpful, if you go in there to the sims and literally before you do anything, you don't have to now. I'm saying like if you were to go into the single lineup sims, literally just click optimize lineup with nobody in there and see what it's giving you with no randomness. And then you can work around that by building out some of the chalky guys in the lineups and then making some different stands and changes thereafter.
The other thing that I like to do is I like to run the contest generator in the sims like we have here on screen and just get an idea for who the sims in our data are liking the most. And then what I could do is I could build some lineups around the players that are showing up a lot, then with some other players, 1 or 2 who I might like for myself personally. So for example, if I was to run a lineup in the single lineup sims, just based on what our projections are right now, I would absolutely start with Javonte Williams, Puka Nacua, and Chris Olave all being in that lineup just based on how much they're showing up in lineups from the contest generator in the sims.
Yep. Definitely. Clayton, do you still use randomness if your core stack is fairly low owned? I'll do both. Like a lot of times I'll want to run it on no randomness and see how it looks and how it sims out, and then crank the randomness up a little bit and see if I like those lineups. That's the thing. Like you have a lot of autonomy over it. You can make your own choices. And I want to see what it's giving me and kind of what looks chalky, and then maybe iterate off of that for sure. All right. So go back to stacks again. Do we have any triples?
A little bit, not that much. We don't have any more than 3% of anybody as a triple stack. And overall, we've got, like 9% of lineups are triples. So there's some, okay, but it's
that's how it should be.
Yeah. Like there's some mixed in here, but it's not very many.
Go to doubles one more time for me.
Yeah. Same as the QBs that we had the most exposure to before, just the 3 cheap guys, Bryce Young, Sam Darnold, Trevor Lawrence. Those are the ones who are seeing the most as double stacks, and kind of the same as single stacks, although a little bit less of Darnold as a single stack, and then more of a Drake May as a single stack instead. But we're getting a pretty good mix of looking lineups. We are. I like that. And also, my assumption was correct here on Cooper Kupp. We're getting over 11% Darnold. So I assume that Kupp is just coming along for the ride in a lot of those. But not all of them, right? Didn't we have like 20% of him? Yeah. So there's a couple of things. We've got 22% of him. I think he shows up in a lot of the Darnold lineups. I also think he shows up as a run back in a lot of the Jaguars lineups. Could be. Yep. That's definitely possible. You know what we should add into stack exposures on the Sims? How many run back, like what percent have run backs? That would be helpful. Yeah. I totally agree. You could sort by it if you were to go to stack type, and if you just typed in opponent, you would see it's not an exact way to do it, but what it would do is it would just filter by all those lineups that have opponent, just because it says opponent in the lineup. So you could kind of look to see what those are. And actually, a lot of our top 150 lineups have a run back. It looks like, probably like a third to half of them or so. Ryan says, Loughy always talks about uniques. Where is that setting? Super, super easy, man. Greg can show you exactly what this is. Like this. The reason you do this is you can smooth out exposure, especially if like all of the top lineups are getting to the same guys. So like, Greg, let's try something and show everybody here. I think you guys will like this. Do 6 uniques. Yeah, so if we were to set it on 6 uniques. Also, real quick, never do that for a showdown slate.
You will not, like, you can't do 2 usually is the max. Sometimes you can get 3, but with main slates, you can do a whole lot more.
Yeah, if we did 6, this is going to give us a real variety of lineups because you see a bunch of these here didn't get selected just because they're similar to other selected lineups. But then when you go and look at the exposures, really smooths it out because now you've got, no more than 10% of any quarterback at tight end, no more than 20%. At running back, remember Javonte Williams, he was showing up in 68% of lineups. That's 32% now. At wide receiver, Puka Nacua was in north of 60% of lineups. Now it's 35%.
Wait,
just
go,
because...
look at that. Look at that Emeka Ibuka exposure now.
Oh, yeah, that came up a little bit.
Didn't we only have 2%? He's at 16.
Yeah, it was like 2 or 3% of Ibuka before.
Yeah.
Did you see how Rob Gronkowski pronounced his name, by the way?
Someone said that. How did he say it?
He said it, Amika Egbigbu.
That's worse than mine when Jake posted my raw audio under the podcast feed of the perfect lineup. That is, wait, he called it a big boo?
He said Amika Egbigbu.
It's a silent G, everybody, by the way, in case you were wondering. But that is, one, hilarious. Also, that shows you right there with uniques what you can do. Now, of course, you want to scroll down and make sure that you're still in the green, right? You want to make sure that none of those lineups are floating into the red. But there's that. How much Puka did we have before we put the uniques? Because we had 35 after we had.
Yeah, so it was 60-something% without making any adjustments. 64% of Puka without making any kind of adjustments. And then we put it on 6 uniques. It was 35%.
Okay. Put me in the game, Coach Chris says. Rico won't be doing that again versus the Cowboys. Just wanted to say that. Here's the thing, though, Coach Chris. He doesn't need to. He doesn't need to do that again. He had 35. He had a monster game, ceiling game, 200 plus yards, average 9 yards per attempt. He touched the ball. He had 27 opportunities. So if you assume, again, if Chuba Hubbard's out, that Dowdle ends up being the bell cow, there is zero reason after last game to assume that he will not shoulder the large majority of touches in this offense. You don't need a 200-yard rushing game. None of that, right? He had 234 total yards. You don't need that. 5,800, he is still, whether you want to play him or not, a fantastic play this week if Chuba Hubbard is out. There's no hiding behind he can't do it again. I'm just like factually speaking, Rico Dowdle would be a very good play at sub 6K given that workload and his matchup this week.
Yeah. Also, not the boldest call in the world to be like, I think Rico Dowdle will have less than 200 rushing yards this week. Exactly. I also don't think he's going to have 200 rushing yards. To Loughy's point, though, he doesn't have to. He is $5,800. We got him projected for 17 fantasy points with a 17 fantasy point projection. He shows up in 31% of lineups. He's a very strong option for this week. He's clearly not as good of an option as he was last week,
right?
Because he was $4,300. He was nearly min price last week. But he's still one of the core running backs in the slate. We've got him showing up in right around a third of lineups. And there's a lot of guys in that price range that I think are viable and pretty comparable. You've got Kyron Williams at $6,300. You've got Rachaad White at $6K. You've got Javonte Williams at $6,400. This is kind of the range that I am currently planning on living in. Who knows if somebody randomly gets ruled out that we don't expect, but this looks like a really good slate to build lineups in the mid-range and play a bunch of the 5-6K guys. We talked about the ones we liked at wide receiver, and the same thing goes at running back as well. This is the price range we're getting the most exposure to.
I want to see something real quick. Can you go to Devontae Adams' exposure?
Yeah. So, by the way, Puka Nacua, who we didn't really talk much about at the wide receiver position, but he's clearly the top pay-up option on the slate just from a projection standpoint. He is projected for 25.4 fantasy points. He's showing up in 64% of lineups. And then we've got a Devontae Adams at $6,700 showing up in 8% of lineups right now.
Okay, so go back to 6 uniques and let's just see how that changed. I want to see if the Nacua ownership exposure going down by half raises Devontae Adams. because I do feel like Davante Adams could end up being one of the greatest pivots on the slate if you play it in a unique way.
Yeah, let's see. So if we go to wide receiver, Nakua in 35% of lineups, and then Davante Adams now in 13. So yeah, we got about 50% more.
A little more. All right. When it comes to tight ends, where do we stand? And Brock Bowers probably sits, right? It doesn't look like he's going to play. So where are we here? Jake Tongas, Tyler Warren, Hunter. Like this is a tough tight end position this week.
Yeah, the ones that make the most sense to me are a little bit more on the cheaper end. Like, sure, if you have the salary to pay up for Tyler Warren's pretty cheap at $4,900. So maybe I should say that Tyler Warren at $4,900 still qualifies more on the value end of things compared to where he probably should be priced. But otherwise, I like some of the cheap guys. Hunter Long, no Brent Strange for the Jacksonville Jaguars, so he looks really solid at $2,500 as a punt. Jake Tonges, it looks like Pearsall is going to be out again for the 49ers. Kind of remains to be seen, but it seems like that is going to be the case. So that's more targets available for the 49ers. He's only $3,700. And then also, Njoku, we saw Dylan Gabriel last week. Looked fine. He didn't look great. He didn't look terrible or anything like that. He looked like a competent kind of NFL backup level quarterback, but he was making a lot of safe outlet passes to David Njoku. I think it looks like the quarterback change in Cleveland is going to really benefit Njoku. So I think that he's viable as well at $3,500. I like some of the cheaper tight ends. And not to mention Darren Waller, who you and I talked about on Wednesday. I think he's an upside play on the cheaper end of tight end as well.
Yes, me too. He was limited or not practicing or whatever, limited, but he'll be fine. They're just clearly, I would assume, just keeping him fresh. We had a question, and then I'll get to the super chat. Danny, Loughy, wouldn't Kyron be the greatest pivot? Well, I think the pivot really is potentially playing some lineups with Kyron and Adams without Stafford and without Nakua. And that's what I'm saying, just getting unique with stuff like that. Yeah, I think Kyron's also, what's the difference in ownership? Not exposure, but in ownership between Kyron and Davante Adams this week.
Kyron is 18% owned and Adams was 10%.
So, I mean, if Adams is really 10% owned, to me, he is the better pivot. But both of them, I wouldn't really call Kyron a pivot is the thing. I just think Kyron's a good play. I think the pivot is just getting weird with your Rams exposure or not playing the Rams, which would be a crazy decision. But if they don't play well and Baltimore gets some guys back on defense and people don't take that into account, that might actually be a move. Marcus Witherspoon, thanks as always, brother. Have you guys noticed low 5K salary QB stacks have been crushing this year? I can see it happening this week as well, getting plenty of it. Thanks for helping us try to get a bag. Yeah, I mean, that dude, we talk about it every week. Like, to me, that doesn't mean you always do that, right? You don't always have to do that. Plus, you have Lamar injuries. Josh Allen hasn't been on many main slates, right? Like, Jalen Hurts hasn't done much. A lot of that is these top priced guys, and some of them who aren't top priced anymore, like a Patrick Mahomes, they either don't exist anymore or they're just not producing or they haven't been on the slate. But Greg, we talked about it at the top of the show. If there's ever a week to do it, it's this week.
Yeah, the other thing too, to the point here is that we've also had very, very cheap quarterbacks in very advantageous situations. We've had a min price Carson Wentz have a good game this year. We've had a min price Marcus Mariota have a good game this year. And we had a min price Mac Jones have a good game this year. It is very rare that 5 weeks into the season, you will see this many min price quarterbacks get put into good spots. And also some of these guys, like, I mean, Mac Jones is just flat out good. And then Marcus Mariota, fine, but he's a good fantasy quarterback because of his rushing ability. So there's reason behind it. This doesn't mean that just going forward, there's some sort of magic about rostering 5K quarterbacks. It's always going to be on a slate by slate basis. But with that said, there are 5K quarterbacks to like on this slate as well, like Trevor Lawrence, for instance, or like Sam Darnold. I'll go and turn the uniques back off so we see what the exposures were looking like without that. But yeah, that's who we're getting to for this slate also. It was quarterbacks in that price range.
Exactly. Kyle, I think Jamar works as a contrarian guy, both as a standalone play or a Flacco attachment. You can do it. I mean, I'm not going to try and catch lightning in a bottle twice in 2 weeks after it worked for me last week. But when Ben asked me at the end of the deeper dive, who's your stand this week? You know, we like to do, Greg, on the deeper dive. We do like, who's your stand as a good player but a low owned player? And I went with Chase because he's just so good. To your point, Kyle, Chase is so good that any given week he could go nuts, and he's probably going to be very low owned this week as well. I don't like him like I liked him last week, but I get where you're going with that. And I think you will have opportunities to do these things, Greg. This week, though, I don't see quite as much of that, of the, like, where's the good player that's low owned? Like Adams, I think. I don't know what Brian Thomas Jr.'s ownership is right now. He might be an option there as well. Ibuka will have ownership. JSN will. Puka will. Most of those guys up top are probably going to be relatively popular.
Yeah, we don't have too many crazy low-owned guys showing up in a bunch of lineups. Ownership's also much flatter this week because the value situation isn't the same as other slates. So, you know, we've got, 36% ownership going to Puka Nacua, 28% to McCaffrey, 28% to Javonte Williams. But there's no, outside of Nacua, there's no mega chalk guys. And then there's none of them on the cheap end that are really chalky either. So if we go and look at our leverage column and see the players we're most overweight to in the Sims, let's see. Some of the lower owned ones, Hunter Long, who this is a low owned. If he was to maintain this low ownership, I would be totally cool with taking a stand on Hunter Long and getting it to him in a good amount of lineups. We've got Hunter Long projected for 5% ownership. We've got Cooper Kupp, who fits into our game stacks. He's only pulling 7% ownership. Bryce Young, 6%. Was there any? Sam Darnold, 3%. So that looks like the low-owned spot that the Sims are getting to right now is Seattle stacks, which JSN, obviously he is somebody who just as a standalone makes sense the field is getting to. But getting other guys like Cooper Kupp, Sam Darnold, running it back with Brian Thomas, there are ways where those combinations of players are going to be pretty unique.
Right. I mean, it's taking a chalky player and making the build around him not chalky, while still getting exposure to that same team or the same game. And you're right. The Sam Darnold doubles with Kupp. That is a great, great explanation of like which of these teams could do it this week. We had another question from Chris. Would you try to put Cam Ward in this week? Honestly, I'm willing to get weird. Probably not, though, because I'd rather go to Bryce Young. I'd rather go to Spencer Rattler, to be completely honest with you. I'd rather go, and that doesn't mean I want to get, I don't even know if we have any Rattler. I probably won't get to much of him, but I could see myself getting a little bit there. I'd rather go to $5,100 Lawrence, probably even $5,200 Smith against Cam Ward and the Titans. If he were, no, we are getting some Rattler. We have 6% Rattler. Okay. So yeah, it's just, there are other guys down there that to me, and I'm including that very low 5K range because $400, $500, $600 is not a big difference. It's not a needle mover. There's enough of them down there to where I don't think I need to do that. He's been bad. The offense is bad. The coaching is bad. They're on the road. It's just a pretty ugly spot.
Yeah, $4,700 for him. I would rather just pay $100 extra to get to Bryce Young.
Me too. Ray, are we really at only 12 likes? Loughy, it's time to drop the hammer. We're at 87. However, the reason, because that happens, right? Like if you don't refresh it, it won't auto update sometimes. So that wasn't a dig at you, even though Greg laughed as if it was. If you don't mind, atone for your sins this fine morning. I totally forgot. Thank you. Hit that thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment down below. And if you're listening in podcast form, we know you're out there. Appreciate you. Leave a review on the podcast if you guys haven't yet. That goes a longer way than anything else, man. So, thank you for all of that. Larry C. Loughy, any codes this week? Tune into the perfect lineup, brother. There might be something in there. So we go through these positions. You look at what we have. I think it's probably high time we take a look at what our lineups, how our lineups are actually structured.
Yeah, so I will zoom in a little bit. Don't want to go too much where it cuts the, this should be good. That won't cut the the stack type off the screen. So one thing that is kind of interesting, we don't have a lot of triple stacks, but the triple stacks we do have are near the top of our sim ROIs, because our number one sim ROI lineup is a 49ers triple stack. Our number two sim ROI lineup is also a 49ers triple stack. Then you see a Panthers triple stack, a Raiders triple stack, another 49ers triple stack. So some of our highest upside lineups did end up being triple stacks.
Right. Look, sometimes that's gonna you know what? Why don't you take a second? And I know some of you guys know this, but a lot of people don't, and explain why you might see like a lot of you might see a player specifically that shows up in a lot of like the top 10 lineups, but then you only have 3 or 4% of him, or why you might have a bunch of QB like 3-man stacks up top, even though in total with 150 lineups, you're not actually getting much of them at all.
Yeah, so I mean, there's a number of reasons for it, but also keep in mind what the sims are doing when we run the contest generator and then the sims is the contest is being simmed 50,000 times on a play-by-play basis. So you may see some of these lineups that are like triple stacks. They might just win GPPs a little bit more often than some of these other lineups, and that will inflate their sim ROIs. Like if we sort by just wins, yeah. So if we look at the lineups that won contests outright, so this is the amount of times they came in first when we ran the sims here, you'll see that the ones that won most frequently actually were some triple stacks here, even if it wasn't that we had, what, it was like 8 or 9% exposure to triple stacks overall. But of the lineups that won most oftenly in the simulations, it actually was 4 of the top 6 were triple stacks. So it's another thing too, where they're not represented that much by the field. There's only, I forget what the number is. It's like 3 to 5% of lineups played by the entire field are triple stacks. So with that in mind, they're not going to be able to win contests 50% of the time just because there's such a low representation by the field, but they are a lineup build construction that's generally underrepresented by the field in terms of their success rate. More people should be playing triple stacks than what they play.
Yep, there's a mental block there for a lot of people, including myself. Also interesting though, with those triple stacks, the cash percentage, like the probability of time within the sims that they cashed, is actually higher than I would have thought.
Yeah, one other thing that's funny too, just because I sorted by cash percentage, the lineups that are cashing most frequently, almost none of them are towards the top of sim ROI, because these are kind of like safer lineups. And when they do cash, tend to be min cashes, and they very seldomly win or come at the top of contests. So just kind of goes to show why upside is more important than just securing a min cash. But yeah, as far as some of these triple stack lineups go, we've got them cashing like 40 to 35% of the time. Let's see any of the other. Yeah, that's the top triple stacks. It's like 35 to 40% of the time is how often they're cashing in a GPP setting.
Yeah, which is not terrible when you're talking about a 3-man stack. Can we go to let's have some fun here before we get out of here. Go to dupes. See if there actually are any like relevant duped lineups. Okay, cool. So there's one with set. That's not a lot, but for a main slate, guys, that's actually a decent amount because we're only running this with a $10,000. Sometimes you'll see like basically nothing duped. Lawrence, McCaffrey, Javonte, Puka, Waddle, Kupp, Long, Rashad White, and Dolphins. And I think probably when Ibuka, when we update for the Ibuka news with Godwin being out, this could change. But I'm a little surprised by that one. I wouldn't have thought Cooper Kupp would be anywhere near one of the most duped lineups.
I think it makes sense from a standpoint of he's kind of the last man who fits in and he just works into that game stack because you've got Lawrence to Long. So it's that Jaguars Seattle game and then just Cooper Kupp on the other side of it because he fits in. And then a lot of the other guys, you know, McCaffrey, Javonte Williams, Puka Nacua, Jalen Waddle. You're just looking at some of the most, Rashad White as well. You're just looking at some of the most popular players on the slate.
Can we look at, here's a very fun one, and sort by win percentage. We don't usually do this. Let's see what the win percentage is. The highest one.
Yeah, we were looking at these a second.
Oh, it's actually, I think it might be our highest sim lineup.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's almost all the highest sim lineups are the ones with the top win percentage. Yep. Those top QB 3-man stacks are the ones that are winning contests most frequently in the Sims here.
Yeah, I mean, which obviously makes sense. There's other times you could get some weird outliers where it's like it won a little less, but it cashed a lot. It's not duped a lot. But yeah, so I mean, that kind of speaks to your point. Last thing before we get out of here, and I should point out one more time to you guys, you want to get a free month of The Sims, head over that link in the description, sign up with any of our sportsbook partners. That's it. You see these? Or any of the pick'em sites if you're in non-legal betting states. Click claim offer, and you are in. Follow those steps. It is easy. And, yeah, if you're not sweating bets and DFS with us this week over at Tails, I mean, what are we doing, man? Greg's posting bets every day. I'm posting bets every day. I mean, you just can't beat it, man. You absolutely can't. And making some revisions to this, but the leaderboard will show you, most profit, who's on a heater, trending. I probably shouldn't even be showing you this yet, but you get the point.
That's all live now.
Oh, wait, the leaderboard is fully live with this?
Yep. Yeah, this is all live.
Sweet. All right, there we go. See? Oh, our friend Ben Raza on there. So you can find other great people to follow, which is very, very cool. You got people trending. Oh, who's that fine fella right there? That's me. You got Mitch, who's killing. Greg, our Morgan Wiper, who has taken down millions of dollars in the past couple of months playing DFS. He's here as Morgan. So he's on now. All of this stuff, man. Definitely look at this. Look at the boys. Look at the boys putting in work. But no, aside from us, like there's so many good people that you can find. And now we're going to have other stuff added to this leaderboard that's going to be sick, and it's coming soon. Like DKDFS is great. All of these guys, look, 6-day win streak. These type of people, check them out. They're like, all right, maybe I will consider looking at some of these guys, right? To me, this goes a long way in being able to curate your own list of followers. So like I'll go into followers, and the people I follow are all right here. And I can just select like, all right, what's Ben got going on today? Boom. There you go. Ben's best of the day, Friday, 10-10. Yes, North Texas. And then here is the coolest part about all of it, Greg. You guys are this is the best part about all of it. You don't even have to like, Ben did put it in here, but you don't even have to put it in there. The AI mapping that we have will just read the screenshot of any bet or parlay. You click tail pick, and now you can come in and find the best odds anywhere. You can see here that Ben betted at minus 108. It's at minus 124. So if you want to find the best odds, Fliff, Profit X, Bet Rivers, boom, click it, adds it to your bet slip, one click, and you are in. So very cool. We're building something great over here, and I genuinely believe we are building something great. Anything else before we get out of here, Greg?
No. Also over on Tails, don't forget, if you guys want a chance to win $1,000, like the post pin to Loughy's profile. If you want a chance to win a free Stokastic Sim sub, I don't have it up on my profile yet, but it will be this afternoon. Once we get the next data update out there, I'm going to have my top 5 Sim ROI lineups for FanDuel and DraftKings. It'll be pinned to my profile. Like that post. One person who likes it, you're going to get yourself a free Stokastic Sims weekly NFL core package. So go check out Tails. Tails.bet or download the Tails app.
Well, we will see you guys back here for the next one. Have a wonderful day, a great weekend, and all of this culminates in a 4-hour live stream on Sunday morning heading into Week 6 Maine. Bye-bye.